We're really happy to have Dini Wang presenting from the Department of Math at Dartmouth College. And Dini will be talking about group dynamics and cooperation and imitation dynamics.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for coming, and many thanks to organizer to bring us together. I'm Dini Wang from Department of Mathematics at Dartmouth College, and today I will talk about my work collaborating with Professor Feng Fu about one group's attract, coevolutionary dynamics of cooperation and individual and group-based imitation. I organized this talk into these three parts. First of all, I will talk about how we define the individual and group-based imitation rules. And after that, I will show the co-evolutionary dynamics of cooperation and those imitating rules. Finally, I will give a brief LLM-based extensions about how LLM choose these imitating rules. First of all, I want to introduce my published paper, which is on class computational biology. And this paper gives the background of this talk. This is actually my first project in my academic career. So this actually encouraged me to step further in the field of the evolutionary games. Here I will start from the basic idea of imitation. So in traditional setting about the evolutionary games and graphs, the focal individual usually selects a well-performing neighbor as a role model and then copy her social behavior for strategy update. And there is a very well-known update named as the death birth update. And we also have like the birth death, pair comparison, imitation, updates. However, in many social systems, like the interactions go beyond dynamics. Basically, individuals often like participate in groups, and these groups might also influence their decision for the strategy shift. Therefore, on hypergraphs, imitation can be driven not only by the successful individuals, but also by the successful groups. This motivates our move from traditional pairwise imitation to high-order imitation. Inspired by this idea, we just consider three different types of high-order imitating rules, and they differ in where payoff bias is applied. Specifically, in the individual bias rule, the focal individual just first randomly select a group and then preferentially select a more successful individual within that group as a role model. Eventually, it will imitate the role model for the strategy update. By contrast, in the group bias update, the payoff bias is based on the selection of the group. So that is to say, the focal individual will firstly select a more successful group and then just randomly select an individual in that successful group for imitation. Finally, we just combine these two biases together to get the group and individual biased rule. So the focal individual is attracted to both a very successful group and also a very successful individual within that group. In a word, these three different rules capture the different scales of like the payoff biased imitation dynamics on high order networks. We then evaluate how these different imitating rules affect the level of cooperation from the perspective of the mutation selection equilibrium. And here we use the classical public goods scheme to capture the group social dilemma on each hyperedge. And here, the imitating rules drive the evolutionary dynamics while allowing for the mutation to maintain the diversity of the trait. So here is an example of a co-authorship network where nodes are authors and the hyperedges represent the publications by the authors. Let's turn to the resultant of the frequency of cooperation that we studied by means of the coalescence random walk. So I really appreciate the contributors for the work on this framework, which is super effective to do with the problems in about the games on networks. So we can see in these two plots, the solid curves show the theoretical predictions, and the markers show the simulation outcomes. We can see those have a perfect agreement with each other. That means our theoretical prediction are very valid for the real evolution of the dynamics. And here the gray dashed line marks the neutrality where the level of cooperation equals a half. So that means when the result is over this line, cooperation is promoted. So versusly, if the result is below this line, that means the defection is promoted. When we vary the strategy factor and the mutation rate, we surprisingly find that group bias update represented by the blue line and blue dots generally use the highest cooperation level among these three rules. That means group bias imitating rules are just most strongly promotes cooperation. And furthermore, we just test the robustness of our intriguing finding across 6 types of different empirical higher order populations. So here we have 24 data sets in total covering several social domains. Those are like the political collaboration, where nodes are Congress members, and the hyperedges capture the political activities. And we have the human contact network to capture the face-to-face contact among individuals. And we have the online social media to capture the online how the online users interact with each other. And we have the email communication, where nodes are email address, and the hyperedges is a sender-recipient communication. We also have the co-review network and question and answer thread. So across these 6 types of different high-order populations, we can see the radar plots show the critical synergy factor R star. So here, lower R star means easier cooperation. So we can clearly see that group-biased imitating rule consistently have the lowest threshold, suggesting that it is most favorable to cooperation in empirical populations. Moving forward, we're curious about what if imitating rules are not fixed anymore, but just co-evolve with cooperation behaviors, hypergraphs. Then in this setting, each individual would carry 2 traits: social behavior, cooperation or defection, as well as an imitating rule. So in each time step, the focal individual just selects a role model according to its current rule and may copy both the behavior and the imitating rule of the role model. And here the mutation is also allowed to maintain the trait diversity. We just iterate this process, and we get the mutation selection equilibrium of strategy combinations. On this basis, we just investigate the coevolution of cooperation and every pair of imitating rules, both theoretically and experimentally. Here we focus on the question that which imitating rule do cooperators favor most? So the main pattern is that whenever group bias is present, cooperators tend to adopt it more frequently than another competing rule. So group bias rule not only promotes cooperation, but also is also like the preferentially adopted by the cooperators under the coevolution setting. And in the last part, we just ask LLMs to choose among these three imitating rules. We just run the pairwise tournaments across the different 6 popular LLMs. Those are Claude, Gemini, GPT, Llama, Gemma, Mistral. And in each triangle, there's the number in the circle shows the arrow scores of the result of the tournament, and the arrow shows the pairwise win rate. We can see that on average, LLMs show a slight preference for both bias update. So this makes sense because LLM are super strong at processing the information from different channels and optimizing a score. But however, in real world life, people often do not have access to too much information or complete information surrounding us. And even though we do, we might not able to process all of it. Next, we just add the social role context by describing the decision maker as either a contributor or a non-contributor in the public goods game. Here, the open circle represents the baseline and the colored dots shows the results with a specific social role context. And we focus on the Weying model shifts. All in all, we discovered that the role context tends to amplify the preference of the both bias, just group and individual bias update, especially in the contributor context. This suggests that LLMs still favor the information-rich rules when reasoning under the specific social role contexts. And to summarize, there are 3 main takeaways. First, we find that group bias imitating rule most consistently promotes cooperation in high-order populations. Secondly, we find that cooperators preferentially adopt group bias imitating rules under the coevolutionary setting. And finally, we find that LLMs are inclined towards group and individual bias imitating rules on average. So getting together, those results highlight the crucial role of individual and group-based imitation in high-order interactions. That's all for my presentation, and so thank you so much for your time and attention. Please feel welcome to reach out if you want the further discussion.
We have time for a question or two as we set up for the next talk.
Sorry, you may have said this, but I missed it. This ELO score, what is this for?
You mean this?
Yeah.
Actually, it is from the ELO ranking. We also have the ELO score from the tournament. There is a ELO ranking system which is used like the algorithm to use to distinguish which one is better.
Is that like the chess ratings?
Yeah, ELO is chess.
Yeah,
Okay.
similar.
Okay.
So you get more better.